Hello and welcome to the monthly music mix. This is a series where I will be covering the music that I've listened to this month, being March of 2023. So let's start with the singles. First, we have Bone Church by Slipknot. This is their first song following their previous album, The End So Far, and it's just okay in my opinion. The intro of the song feels too long, and it reaches like a high point that I don't feel is earned. The vocals are solid as always, and the instrumental is pretty pleasant. Overall, I'm feeling a mid 6 out of 10 on this song. Next up is Good Time by The Dare. Good Time is the second single from Harrison Smith's project The Dare. It's another good dance punk banger. Pretty much the first two singles from this project feel like if the only LCD Sound System song you heard was Drunk Girls and you were trying to recreate that sound but more insane. Like the song opens with like these big garish synths, which I'm using for like the intro of this segment. It like makes it like the fun dance punk track it's supposed to be, and with that in mind, I'm giving this song a mid 9 out of 10. Up next is My Silhouette by James and the Cold Gun. My Silhouette is the third single for the debut album by James and the Cold Gun, which is probably my most hyped record of this year. Maybe that or a record I'll mention later in this video. This band feels like if you took Queens of the Stone Age and had them make similar music to the first Death from 1979 album. This song is just a straight up fun punk banger. The guitar riffs on the song shred through the song and the chorus explodes with energy. Like, this song is hype every time I hear it, and I'm giving it a high 9 out of 10. Next we have Failed at Maths by Panchiko. Failed at Maths is the first single from the first album by shoegaze band Panchiko since the internet found their debut album over 2 decades ago. I feel like this song doesn't really have the allure the first project has and kind of feels a bit generic in my opinion. But I'm interested in what else comes from this project, but as of right now, I'm just giving this song a mid 6 out of 10. Next we have After Midnight by Phoenix featuring Clairo. So this is a new version of the song from their last album, Alpha Zulu, from last year, just with Clairo on it. It's alright. Clairo's vocals don't really add to the track or take away from it, in my opinion. So with this in mind, I'm giving this a solid 7 out of 10. Next we have Baby Again by Fred Again, Skrillex, and Fortet. Baby Again is a pretty solid song from these three producers. The song was released alongside a new edition of Fred Again's EP USB, which just added the song and the other collab from that Skrillex album from last month, which is odd. I don't know why there was a need to re-release it. This song is just a fun like house song, and it's just built around a little baby sample that's pretty decent. So overall, I'm giving this song a solid 8 out of 10. Up next is One Night in Burbank by Battle Tapes. One Night in Burbank is the third single from the next project by Battle Tapes. This song is pretty groovy. There's a prominent cowbell early on in the song that I think works really well. And once that chorus hits, you are vibing out pretty much for the next 2 minutes. Overall, I am giving this song a solid 8 out of 10. Up next is Paradise Is Mine by Swans. If there's any band that I wouldn't be shocked by the quality of their music being good, it would have to be Swans, just due to how consistently great they've been. Paradise Is Mine is the first single from their upcoming record, The Beggar, and it's a pretty calm teaser compared to like their other singles, such as like Oxygen, which is like a big explosive song. This song is just a pretty solid chill moment for like the first 5 minutes, especially when the like backing vocals come in around the 4-minute mark. However, the song does get like the more threatening Swans feel around the 5-minute mark and leads to like an excellent come down in the final minutes of the song. But currently, this is my favorite song of the year, and I'm giving it a very high 9 out of 10. Next is Fighting Myself by Linkin Park. Fighting Myself is the second single from the 20th anniversary release of Meteora, and it's really good in my opinion. The song opens with like a heavy manipulated vocal sample that leads into like the traditional nu metal song Linkin Park is known for. Mike Shinoda's verses are great. Chester's chorus is fantastic. Also during the last chorus, they add backing vocals which really elevate the song. With this in mind, I'm giving this song a high 9 out of 10. The final single of this month is Cut by Chat Pile. This is the first of 2 songs from their split EP with the band Never, and they deliver on the noise rock greatness they showcased on their last album, God's Country. Honestly, the only reason the song couldn't fit on this album is just the themes of the song not really aligning with the themes of that album. But the song is just as crushing, as brutal as the rest of the work. I can confidently say that Chat Pile are probably one of the most interesting modern noise rock bands right now, and you should check them out if you haven't already. With all this in mind, I am giving this song a high 9 out of 10. Next on to the albums. With the body count higher than a mosquito. Starting with Dogsbody by Modern Actress. Dogsbody is the debut album by noise rock band Model Actress. This album feels like if you took the noisy dance punk sound of Death from Above 1979 and the weirdness of Nine Inch Nails and formed into like a demented child. This album is filled with like so many great bangers, such as the excellent Mosquito. A lot of moments that I didn't feel as highly about are still good as hell and still have a great groove. Another highlight on this album is the track Amaranth, which goes from like the noisy hellhole this album is to like a very, very calm chorus. With this in mind, I am giving this album a strong 8 out of 10. I've been playing by the rules. Next is Afterthoughts by Red Vox. Afterthoughts is Red Vox's follow-up and second part to last year's Visions. However, I feel like Afterthoughts is a much weaker project compared to the previous part. Afterthoughts is much calmer and it works at its best, like really good on songs like Playing the Rules and the sound that you make. However, when it's weaker, it's pretty boring, like Keep It Together. I don't really like that song. Overall, this album is really well produced, but it's more of a collection of some of Red Vox's weaker tracks to this point. With this in mind, I am giving this album a strong 7 out of 10. Next is 10,000 Gecs by 100 Gecs. 10,000 Gecs was an album that I had very low expectations for, considering I did not like their previous album. But this album honestly surpassed my expectations. The first 2 singles from this album surprised me with how much I liked them. However, outside of the singles and the opening track, I didn't really like this album overall. However, this is more like a big exploration of genres for the band, or group, however you want to refer to them, as it explores genres like nu metal and ska. Overall, I'm just feeling a light 4 out of 10 on this album. Next is Memento Mori by Depeche Mode. Memento Mori is the first Depeche Mode album since the death of co-founder Andy Fletcher, and this album contains the somberness of this loss. However, outside of this factor, Depeche Mode continued to experiment with their sound on Memento Mori. All of this best moments on this album embody that classic Depeche Mode feel. However, this album does have some weaker moments where they go more ambient and like experiment like heavily more. Overall, I would give this album about a mid 8 out of 10. Like NASCAR, nigga, you bet not go, but you better get your mind right, boy. Next is Scaring the Hoes Volume 1 by Jpegmafia and Danny Brown. This is the first release of Danny Brown since You Know What I'm Saying in 2019, and Jpegmafia's first release since 2 years ago with LP. This album is entirely produced by Jpegmafia, which means the production is great all around. This album has so many great moments, such as Perfect, Garbage Pail Kids. Kingdom Hearts Key is a great moment with Red Veil giving a great feature on it, and the sample of the Ellis track, Milkshake on Fentanyl Tester, is also really good. However, one issue that most people have with this album is the mixing on the version on most streaming services, which is a complaint I completely agree with. The mixing on streaming services is not good. However, there is a much better mix on Jpegmafia's Bandcamp, which makes us like most of the terrible moments on the album, like the moments where you can't hear, or just fixed. Like most of the album has like a intentionally kind of crappy sound, but like the songs with, like the worst mixes on streaming services, Danny Brown is barely audible. Ooh. But like with the better mix on the closer and other tracks, I would give this album a mid 8 out of 10. Next is So Much for Stardust by Fall Out Boy. So Much for Stardust marks the return of Fall Out Boy from their terrible 2018 album, Mania. This album opens on a high note with the first two songs, with the first track, Love for the Other Side, being a major highlight. However, immediately following these two tracks, the album just turns into decent pop rock. Most of this album is pretty unmemorable outside of the extra boring interludes and the song I Am My Own Muse, which is just because the instrumental sounds like generic epic music on YouTube. With this in mind, I'm giving this album a mid 5 out of 10. Finally is Call Me If You Get Lost, the Estate Sale by Tyler the Creator. Tyler the Creator released an expanded version of Call Me If You Get Lost that includes a few songs that didn't make the original album. This review will not include any of the songs in the base album that came out 2 years ago, but if you want my score for their O's, it's a mid 8 out of 10. The tracks on the Estate Sale are further expansion of the experience of the base album, with someone featured on every track, like production-wise, are features, except for the two singles, Sorry Not Sorry and Dogtooth, with What a Day and Heaven for Me having production by a Madlib and Kanye West. But overall, this new version is pretty good. Not really feeling the track with Vince Staples on it, but overall, I'm giving this a solid 8 out of 10. And finally, for some other recommendations, we have Violator by Depeche Mode, Leak 413 Bait Ones by Jai Paul, Rounds by Fortet, The Black Album by Jay-Z, Taboo by Denzel Curry, USB by Fred Again, Eternal Blue by Spirit Box, Ultra Pop by The Armed, Cyro by Aphex Twin, Floss by Injury Reserve. With that in mind, that will be all for this video, and I will see you in the next one.